Welcome to the sixth gene key transmission of the key of the week, conflict, diplomacy, peace. This is one of the fiery gene keys that connected with the 36 gene key of turbulence. And we can see how these keys go together. When we in a conflict, it's creating turbulence, and turbulence is creating conflicts. Then we have diplomacy on the gift level of this key and a peace. And we can say that this key is the one who we really need it in our times right now, individually and collectively. And as well as probably is one of the hardest key to unlock. And during this transmission, we will understand why, but particularly because it's a lot connect with our emotional field and with the genders and with the patterns that rooted deep within, that basically to overcome the conflict, we need to overcome the attraction between male and female and sexual desire, because the sexual connection, our sexuality is what the transmission of this key is, what's sending this key is. The polar of it is what's creating a war, because the same energy that attracts us is making us creating a fight and a war. So we're gonna start today, as always, with the shadow. And please contemplate, feel into yourself, breathe, feel your body, feel how this energy is affecting you. And after that, after we discover the shadow, we go to higher frequency. So we start with the conflict. And the conflict is something that is very common sense for us, common energy. Of course, I forget to say I'm having a tea. Today I'm having a lon, but later I will switch to when we will go higher up. So the conflict is something that we're familiar with, and I think most of us can say that we also been grow up in the environment where conflicts were normal, emotional conflicts and different fights between parents, or sometimes even as a kid we could fight with one another. And I would say this key, the shadow of this key, is going deep into protection, trying to protect its own boundaries and borders. It's a question of my boundaries. That is also like a healthy thing, to have a healthy boundaries, but when we go too much into overprotecting, then we I would say, in fact, deepening into shadow of conflict, because then anything that disturbs us would be a reason for conflict. That will immediately draw and create an emotional response in our system, because, as I said, the program partner is 3016 key that is connected with our emotions. And both of this key, in fact, in human design, there would be an emotional center. The 6 is connecting with, through human design, the channel 59-6 that is connected with, in fact, intimacy, because this key, this channel of 59-6 is about intimacy, is about relationships, about sexual desire. And 59 is the one who goes from sacred, the sacred center that gives the sexual energy, that this drive to kind of go through the boundaries, through the borders, and connect and merge, and kind of also create a baby. This channel, so through this channel is how we're making babies. and go into sexual, basically, experiences. But the 6 is the one who stays on the border and saying, either you let to come to enter or not. So the 6 gene key is the one who decides. And when we're on a shadow level, of course, there is no clear way to decide when it's the right time to create connection, or when it's wrong time. And the 36 is also in the emotional center that is connecting us with their emotions, and with the channel 36-35. That's all about experiencing the new experiences, and creating expectations also on a shadow level. And then these expectations, they get kind of, I would say, fall down from the wave of our expectations, and then we feel like a crisis, we feel disappointed, dissatisfaction. And the 36 key is the one that is bringing the crisis in our life, but not just to make us uncomfortable, in fact, but to show where is something that needs to be purged, where these patterns, where these tendencies that not healthy anymore, and you can't continue the same way. So you have to change your environment, but first of all, your inner tendencies, they have to change. And then the environment will change itself. So the conflict. And as I said, these 2 keys are basically emotional, an emotional center. That means it's bringing up all this emotional field. And we receive the programs of patterns, how we will defend ourselves from the time from 7 to 14. This time where we receive these programs, the tendencies. I just remember that when I was at this age, I had sometimes fights with my mom, like physical sometimes. We would like not kind of dangerous, but was a time of high emotions. And so basically that means that when we work with the energy and without the emotional field, we have to purify our emotional field, and to bring the awareness into our emotions. Because basically when we have patterns that click to one another, say in a relationship, that's where this have tension, and then this tension at some point explodes. And basically within this week, within this key, the week of this key, we will see that any tension we have within, any unresolved issues that first of all come from within, they will be now brought into the surface, and we will have to face them, and we will have to change them, and we will have to overcome these difficulties that bringing us they're bringing us these conflicts, and they're bringing us this kind of fire into our system. The one thing that's also interesting about this key is that it connects with our pH balance. So basically the balance between acidity and alkalization. I forget this word honestly, but basically this balance in our system, in our blood. And if we have too much acidity, that means that our nervous system would be much more on a stress, on a reactivity mode. That means we will react faster to things, because basically more fire kind of in our system. And also our acidity is kind of a field for creating different bacteria, viruses, and also cancer cells in the body. And if wherever there is a disbalance here between this in our pH, then we will face basically also the emotional turbulence, and it will try to resolve itself also through conflicts. So we can see that, and in fact, I can say from my experience, the time when I had this over acidity in my system and this balance in my pH, that's my doctor in Bali, kinesiologist, discovered. The time when we've been also kind of reprogramming it, I was super overactive, and that time when I couldn't hold myself at all, and basically when we need to see that the roots can also go inside our body, but of course it's all interconnected. When we harmonize our emotional field, it harmonizes our body. But then also when we harmonize our body and we take care of our pH, that also can be with not eating certain food. And the time, for example, I couldn't eat anything basically that was red, and that was bringing fire. I couldn't eat tomatoes, I couldn't eat honey, I couldn't eat what I couldn't eat. Turmeric, ginger maybe also. Spices, carrots. Of course. No, carrots wasn't good. Spices, of course, caffeine. So was a lot of kind of food I had to avoid, so my body would. Even I think buckwheat, I don't know why, but somehow I couldn't have buckwheat. So things that basically were bringing acidity, I had to stop consuming them so my body could reprogram and heal itself. And for humanity, I also would say that this key is collective. I honestly don't know if we as humanity, the stage where we are, would be ever able to overcome this key, this shadow. As we probably will all need to be monks or Buddhists to do this, because basically to fully overcome conflict, we have to fully overcome our sexual desire, to fully transcend it, not just block it and repress it and pretend that it's not exist, but to fully transcend it. And the shadow tendency has two stories, two patterns. The repressive and the reactive. And the repressive would be attending. It's like it's the people pleasers. These are the people who prefer to keep peace at any price, so they will fully dismiss what they feel. They would fully just try to maintain the peace because they're so much afraid of any emotional turbulence that they prefer to fully not go there, and basically constantly suppressing themselves and what they feel and how they feel and what they want, their truth, their needs, is just to kind of maintain the peace and relationship and connection. And I remember one quote I read somewhere that when we want the conflict in relationship, we want the intimacy, or that the conflict is the price we pay for intimacy. Because when we go into conflict, it means when we go into facing something that creating tension in our relationship, and if we go there in a mature and vulnerable way, either we can find a solution how we can change something and bring peace and harmony, or if there's no solution, some things not possible to change. Let's say, for example, one person wants monogamous relationship, another polyamorous, or one person want to have kids and another is just like child free, or some other things that's where there's no solution can be made because it's just very different views or flow of life, let's say, moving through people. Then at least if we face it and we understand that, okay, there's no harmony can be found here without compromising yourself. And compromising yourself is not a harmony, because compromising means I would kind of betray what I feel and what I want in just for the sake of keeping peace, kind of peace in this relationship. But when we do this, when we suppress ourselves, at one point it will explode. Like that's what happens with the people who are people pleaser. They kind of try to be nice, they wear a mask, but at some point something get this fire kind of burn and they explode. And the other tendency is the other tendency is how it called? The second part of the shadow.
Tactless.
Tactless, yes. It's these people who they don't have any sense of tact. They don't have any sense of maturity, of being able to just stay with the emotions, to process them, to speak from the heart, or vulnerability or authenticity. They just always explodes, and they don't even explode. Explosion is more the tendency of the first one, because it kind of it try to like kind of just stay calm. And in fact, this would also I feel in my life, the spirituality here can be a big trap. If you process it, if you kind of try to go there through your mind, and instead of really feeling and transmuting, all you try to do is go kind of beyond your emotions, and you try to apply the approach of that all emotions, they're just like frequencies, they just move through me, so I don't need to react. And you kind of try to maintain peace and stability and like some love, and you're thinking, oh, it's just my reactions, and you always try to find the reasons within you and whatever is like in your subconsciousness, and you then basically just always betraying what's really going on with you, and then at some point it will explode in some really unpleasant way. The right solution here would be to really feel into your emotions and your needs. And for example, if it's a relationship, to share and to see if your needs can be met, if you can meet needs of your partner, and then basically depends on dates, you either can create a harmony or not. And that's the quote that I was talking about, that we're thinking that the peace is the goal of relationship, but the goal of relationship is love. And if we try to just maintain peace and be peaceful, but instead we feel differently, then we either creating diseases for ourselves, or we creating basically such a deep disconnection from ourselves, where we don't know anymore who we are, what we want. Some relationship can go like kind of forever like this, when both people, they are just in denial of the truth. So they both plan out some patterns and stories when they're not in love. Because when we come into love, we see that sometimes the best solution is to let each other go, because that's what will create, in fact, peace. Because maybe we just have different missions for like soul path, or we already gave each other what we needed on the soul level, and it's time to move forward. And then the light will always show when it's something that needs to be addressed. And if we're not looking there, when we feel the first kind of signs of it, then it will manifest itself as crisis, because the program partner of the 6 gene key is 36, is crisis. And in fact, the 36 is in my attraction field. So it's basically the lesson in relationship and the kind of my purpose in relation, not purpose, but the lesson and how I attract people to through crisis to find humanity and compassion. And of course, it's then connected with program partner, the 6 gene key that brings the question of sexuality, love, because attraction field is also our sexual energy. And desires and the goal and the lesson in relationship, I would say like this. So we need to be honest with ourselves. Do we really feel our feelings, or do we try to just pretend that we are processing them when instead we just kind of just pushing them away or suppressing them, and sometimes they're just exploding or they destroy ourselves from within. And in fact, the time when my system get in over acidity, before that I was kind of applying or try to apply the approach of the previous spiritual teacher. That's like kind of when there was some question, in fact, about my relationship, and he suggested that, oh, like your emotions is basically they're not real. It's just like the tendencies of your mind. So like, why you need to kind of even give them any any value? Just stay kind of in love always, and yes, like that. Stay in this relationship, stay in love, and because this is your true nature. I've tried, but in fact, instead of addressing the needs, the things that were inside, the emotions, I was just trying to move everything to heart. But the emotions were affecting me in my body. That later on, the work with my kinesiologist showed that. And in fact, after that, I stopped to pretend. What I feel, and I don't try to make it different in a way. Because as we said, the peace is not the goal in relationship. The goal is love. And love doesn't mean always to be together. So it's better to be super honest and vulnerable and authentic, and through this figure out that maybe you just can't really be together, or there is no solutions in certain ways, and you need to let it as either go. It would be more love in this than try to make each other somebody who we not are, and just for the sake of kind of being together. This is what this 6 gene key kind of would also bring these things to a surface, showing that what is the love, in fact, and what is the real intimacy, and what is the real connection. So and the other side that is tactic, as I said, is a person who always react and express the emotions in an angry way. And these people, they absolutely couldn't look within themselves. They always in projection, and they create situations and basically they can't be around nobody. Then they can't create any friendships, any connections, and intimacy, because they're always reacting and always blaming and always in their destructive tendencies. So they can't be in any type of intimate connections, because basically they just destroy everything, because they have, let's say, too much fire they can't process, and that fully never been able to look within. And of course, we can sometimes move as a shadow from one polarity to another, because it's not that we just in one pattern of the shadow. We have all of them, and they will kind of move and switch one another. So we will also experience different tendencies of the shadow stories, and we can feel each other in both of them. And there's basically, I can say, any conflict. I mean, of course, it's a real conflict, it's just some discussion, but a conflict is showing where there is some crisis where something had to be released, where something had to be changed, where things can't go further the same way. Just like the last stop, they have to be changed. And then either if it's a relationship, the both, because it's again the partners of both of us, we both face the partners and we change things within, or then this relationship cannot continue themselves because there's no harmony anymore there. And the crisis just showing up where things have to be shifted. It's kind of, we came to the last stop. And in fact, also kind of being here, because it's, as I said, this key is about this attraction and then destruction, this like connection and war on the between the polarities, and any polarities, male, female, religion and science, rich and poor people. So where there is a polarity, there is a 6 jinki there. And on a shadow level, it creates conflicts. On a gift and Siddhi level, it creates diplomacy and peace. And I would say being here in Nepal also, so we're still here, but the thing that happened a week before, they were showing this also, I would say, this key and these things about conflict, that the corruption, like this conflict between rich and poor, exploded itself in a crisis where people went to protest against the corruption in government, and now like a lot of people died, and today in fact is a mourning day where we kind of respect those who died, and the government gonna pay money for families who lost their children or relatives, and make it kind of try to make now more peace, but the explosion already happened the way it happened. So this is probably what I want to share about the conflict, the shadow part. Maybe something else will come later, but I want to ask, do you want to say anything?
Sure.
Your microphone?
Other way. Yeah, so this key definitely feels like very present in many ways, and this key also connects with kind of core human nature in a way, and how we are, like, tendency is always to kind of, I mean, it's really talking about like such a fundamental thing that actually humans are by nature have to overcome themselves, because we are like destined in a way to fight with the opposite sex, with the opposite gene pools, with the, you know, what is opposite to you, even if you think you're not in one of those gene pools or categories, you in a way are, until, I don't know, you've transcended them. So namaste. So it's hard to really say, you know, what is the when will humans leave behind the conditioning of our nature? I was writing, I shared actually on my Instagram about Nepal and how I've felt, and I felt really frightened, and I felt endangered for my life. And I think it's so canny that this has come now, this key, because in fact, I've thought of myself maybe being in one of those categories during the conflict, because we were in a huge shadow of this key last week, where, you know, there were local, young, like, you know, I'm guessing more working class people, but also I'm sure there was a lot of unrest about throughout all the different classes, but probably less so in the high upper classes. But as someone who's, you know, obviously we are not like working class, are we? we are privileged because we are, you know, we are like travelers, international, we can go places, you know. But I would say our category maybe transcends. I think there's a new category that's coming in humanity where there won't be the class, or there'll be a group that transcends class, but it's kind of, we have to wait till then, until we can really make our names. So yeah.
1 second, I'm coming. Yes, so let's continue with this key. There's something I want to also share about the shadow patterns is that it's a way how, yes, we have the conflict of all the polarities within one another, of all the destructive tendencies, and that we need to see that this desire, and in fact, as 59, as I said in the channel with 6-1, 59-6, the 59 creates the sexual desire. This pull to want to connect and merge and overcome any boundaries to create intimacy, yeah, to create connection, or to create even babies. But at the same time, then the 59 is also saying that we have to overcome our sexual desires, we have to overcome our sexual tendencies, we have to overcome the need for sex, and in fact the need to merge through this way. As the more we move into higher levels of our awareness, we can experience oneness and unity and intimacy without physically connecting with one another. So that is another tendency, another way. And yeah, that's key. The more I kind of connect with it now, feel it, process it, the more I feel how deep it is and how it's essential for our awakening, and at the same time, how much work to do, because to awaken through all these pattern, shadow stories, and so on is what will take a lot of courage and the willing to look into the unknown, to face the challenges, to face the pain, to face the desire, to face the root of desire, but to face it in a really mature way, not just avoiding and suppressing, but really facing and transmuting. Because when we're really transmuting, then what we're doing, we creating the connection, establish the connection with the higher plans. So instead of trying to connect with one another on a physical level and to kind of feed from one another through human dynamics, we connect with the source, we connect with the divine level, and that means we're always supported by divine energy instead of need to be kind of supported or to receive energy through one another, because the conflict is also a way to take somebody's energy. As in a conflict, we just what we try to do is basically take somebody's energy because we're not receiving every time through source if we not connect with it. Then we connect with egregors, we connect with others, we creating the horizontal dynamics instead of creating vertical dynamics. And then when we come into a relationship through vertical dynamic, that's what changed everything, because that what just showing us that we're always supported by source. There is always a divine energy that's working through us, and that we don't need to kind of feed through one another. And then we create relationship from freedom. We create relationship not because we need one another, and even love at this point is not a reason to go into relationship. The love is something that is present, yes, but to go into a relationship, you need to see also how much you, in fact, how much is alignment between you and kind of I forget this word, not accountability, like how much it is, let's say, alignment within you on a human level, and your values, your ability to communicate, your emotions, your goals in life, your preferences, your also what creates you, and how much we can create this alignment without going into their over accepting, over attending nature, when we just suppress what we feel and just kind of becoming people pleasing. So this is about the shadow. Let's go into the gift diplomacy. Diplomacy is a very beautiful quality, but is not what we can think it is. It's not just a way how we say things. It's not like a political diplomacy when we kind of use the mind to see, to understand, to create the right arguments, and where there is still some sort of manipulation involved, because we need to be very, yes, a kind of not tricky, we need to be very open in how we listen, but then we also need to say the right arguments, so kind of we get what we wanted and the other side wants to get what the other side wanted. So then we try to use diplomacy to make the most of it. But the real diplomacy is connects with our emotional field. It connects with emotional maturity. It connects with the way how we just responding to one another and how we feel one another, because diplomacy is a quality that helps us to stay stable and grounded in our center, even in the times of some emotional turbulence, that we're so much grounded in our center that the emotional turbulence is not affecting or not harming us. Even if, for example, like our partner tries to react or explore on us, when we're really grounded, and it's also listening to Siddhi say, when we're really grounded in our center, then we feel that we can stay centered no matter what. And it's not that we even try to do this, but that's what's happening very, very naturally. That's what's happening on a natural level, and we don't need to pretend, and we don't need to kind of overcome this and try to stay nice. No, it's the way how our energy field works, that because we establish more connection, this like vertical connection, we always have the divine energy going through us and supporting us and holding us. And then we can stay much more in peace and harmony when we face certain challenges in our life and or some emotional turbulence. We just stay stable, grounded, and connected. And so when we speak about diplomacy, we speak about emotional maturity and the way how the aura of this person affects those who around him. Or that it's not what he say, it's like it's not what you say, it's what your aura tells to others. It's what your aura sends in the frequency that either harmonize the environment or creates more turbulence. And in saying so, I would love to speak more about the need of really, first of all, purifying the patterns and tendencies of our subconsciousness from this age of 7 to 14. Maybe you want to write down for yourself, like what were these defensive mechanisms that I took on board, what was the stories, what I faced in my environments, like how my parents were speaking with one another, what's been going on there, and later on, as well as how was my sexuality developed and what things were happening there on this side. So it's a really time of deep contemplation and healing journey. So we could see the tendencies that we kind of inherited or we made, and we can transmute them and change them so we can live healthy and harmonious life. And emotional maturity means two things. It means accountability and vulnerability. So first, I'm accountable for my own emotions. I feel them, I connect with them, and I don't try to suppress them or to project and throw them away straight away. I feel, I breathe, I can share about them. I can say that I feel like triggered or angry, or I'm on the edge and I'm gonna explode right now, or I feel very close and separated. And in a healthy relationship, we are able to express from vulnerability our emotions and our needs without attacking one another and be accepted. Like when both parties has emotional maturity, it means they're aware of what they're feeling, they can communicate this, and another person can receive it without being offended or taking it kind of, let's say, personally. Or if there is any question that's underlines here, something that we need to change in relationship, some patterns or something that we can change also on a material level that will help to create more peace and harmony and joy, that we can also do this. It's not compromising both of our true nature. So this is something that is, in fact, I would say to have a harmonious relationship is not such a hard thing. It's hard just because we're absolutely lost in our emotions and we are identify with them. So this is also the thing that brings us rooted in a shadow, that we are identify with our emotions and how we feel. And here is a tricky thing, because if you remember there, something I shared with you before, how previously I was kind of trying not to identify with emotions and stay grounded in her, but instead it affected my physical form. So that means that when we feel emotions, we need to move them, because it's energy, it's a frequency that moving through a system. And you can move it, you can feel it fully, but not identify with it. It doesn't mean you don't try to feel it. You feel it, but you don't also kind of believe that it is the absolute reality. You just feel that, okay, there is some energies moving through me. there is some anger or frustration or pain or sadness. By the way, I shifted to where. But you're not saying that, oh, this is like the absolute truth, or like that this is you and this is the only reality that exists. So and again, if you trigger, to look within, because that's still also true that when we're triggered, there are some subconsciousness patterns and dynamics that going on within us, because only when there is like a hook, that this can happen only when the both sides had things to connect, has patterns that are in resonance with one another. Because if they don't, then this kind of conflict would not happen. So diplomacy means that you're very aware of your emotional state. You have maturity to feel it, to be accountable for this. And also you don't fully identify yourself with this, as well as you can speak from vulnerability. You can speak from your truth, you can speak from your heart, and you can tell what do you feel and how, and we can, if it's a relationship, receive one another and find a harmony without projecting or without throwing emotions into one another, but more being in our center. And that also means that we have enough safety in the relationship when we know that if we express something, that the other person can receive it without also identifying, and that or without defending, because the shadow is always trying to defend itself and its kind of safety. Also, the root of the shadow goes into the fear that another person can take something of us, and first of all, our freedom, our peace, our freedom. And that means that we decide that somebody else is kind of more important than us, and that this person can take something away. And then we try to fight with this, where in fact we need to come to our own center and see that there's nobody can take something out of us. Instead, we allow it to happen. And diplomacy can really help us to find this freedom and peace within. The more we move into freedom, the peace, the Siddhi, but any Siddhi is also a state of freedom. So the more we can, as I said, transmute the energies and feel them into our system without identifying with them, feel the feelings, feel the emotions, but don't say that this is you, that's something that's moving through you. And then we develop kind of this peace within, as I said, how our aura then begins to respond to others. And the interesting fact of this key is this key, yes, can prevent a conflict, but what's the difference then from a shadow, or when somebody is just people pleasing and trying to play nice without really feeling it, but it tries to prevent a conflict, than from really preventing a conflict on a gift level. Because on a gift level, we are so sensitive to environment, because we already transmuted our own shadows. Our system is very open and receptive, and we are so aware, and we kind of really can feel and hear all the frequencies around us. That mean we would feel the emotions of others before they manifested itself, or like before they released. That means we would know how and what to say something So it would harmonize things instead of provoking a conflict. This is the true meaning of diplomacy. You either know how to say, with which tone and intonation of your voice, or when to say. Because one of the shadow of the conflict is timing. We say things not in the right time. That's also then create these fire arguments and fights. Because when we can say things in the right timing, then this really helps us to, just to prevent conflict, not because we're afraid of them or we avoid them or we're afraid of hard emotions, because on a shadow level, the people pleasing just afraid to feel discomfortable emotion. It doesn't have maturity on understanding or tools how to feel. Then because this tries to defend itself, so it thinks, oh no, I don't want these uncomfortable emotions because they're gonna harm me, because I don't have a maturity to process them. So I prefer not to feel them at all. That's why I will act like everything okay when in fact inside myself I'm suffering, or like I don't agree with something. No, the real diplomacy is not trying to avoid anything. It can feel anything. And not being kind of really attached to this, and not being in touch with it on a deeper level, and still remain in peace and in high frequency. Say something? No? And then, of course, it's present to collective. Then, of course, it's present to their the nations. Basically, this key, the seed of this key, is what's supposed to stop a war. It doesn't seem like it's happening right now on the earth, but potentially is what's supposed to stop the war and help us to just really don't need any protections and defenses against one another anymore. Sounds like a dream for now, because we just see more and more wars and things happening like this. But let's pray that one day it can become the reality. And diplomacy will spread its light, and we will have mature individuals and then mature collective that is, don't try to hide emotions or explode in them, but just can feel with awareness, has enough groundedness in self, so can really process feelings and emotions without attaching or identifying to them. And the next thing is Siddhi. So you want to go Siddhi? You want some tea?
No. No, thank you.
You sure you don't want any prayer? Okay. So then we come into peace. It's interesting to view the transmission of peace near the Buddha stupa. That is, I would say, a representation of peace itself. And as I said, like when we had this this protest here, it's the Buddha was, the stupa was kind of one of the places where you could feel still the peace when everything was crumbling. And I don't remember if I shared or not, but when this day of the 9th of September, when we went with my partner to a town, and then we stayed in the stupa, and literally outside of the stupa, very close on the main road, there was always protests and fire and military helicopters and explosions, everything what we heard. And around stupa, people were going, praying to mantras, praying for peace, and we've been praying as well. And it felt like really different energy there, even if it was so close to all this like explosion of conflicts and crises that were going on here. So, and imagine if you can create this kind of, if we all could create this, let's say, stupa within us, this piece of this island, this center of peace, and can ground there no matter what, because things are happening in any case. And the more and more we are going into the transmutation of humanity, that means we are in this really fiery time when things can kind of provoke and explode more and more. Not only wars, but also their disasters, the ecological disasters, there are a lot of things that's going on the Earth and on the planet. And then we would see that all we need is to keep this center within, this connection with the spirit, because we can't rely on anything outside. Things are changing so fast. The more and more we can see this day that really everything is permanent, everything is comes and goes. There is nothing external we can hold on. Yes, we need to maintain good health, stability of nervous system, but literally we can't hold on our partner, we can't hold on our country, we can't hold on our government, we can hold on like the earth itself because it's crumbling. There's nothing we can really hold on. So only thing we can hold on maybe the practices of transition of the soul. You know, it's like the wisdom is to know when and which tools to use. So I would say I'm more and more thinking of learning or like to find a teacher who can give the practices of transition of the soul when through Bordeaux. That's basically what we're gonna do soon with my partner. So
we found one out of nowhere.
So it's like, you know, when you see the situation, you're like, okay, to invest kind of into
death.
It's like, and doesn't mean that like you know, we became like kind of like, how to say,
morbid,
like arrogant and saying, oh, like there's nothing to do here. No, this in fact the tricky thing. I just yesterday had a session, one-on-one session with my client, and I was sharing to her that, you know, it's not that we need to now deny all our like human desires, not like desires, but wishes, and we need now to completely stop invest into our pleasure or what just give us happiness. No, we still have some goals we want to do, our souls want to experience, we still can live happy life, but we just need to not attach ourselves to anything and be ready at any time to let go. That's in fact the time where there really only spiritual people, I would say, can survive spiritually in a real sense of it, not just pretending and playing some like roles of being in a higher dimensions without grounding the soul in the body. No, really spiritual, when you don't identify with bad emotions as well as with good emotions. It's not that you don't feel them, you just don't identify with them. And who knows when and if it's going to happen, this transmutation of humanity, when we will transmute our physical form. And not sorry, what I wanted to say, that when the physical form will be transmuted through the desire, because basically to transmute the conflict and this pool of desire, this attraction that we had into one another, to transmute this, that's a pool of the genders that we have this attraction. That's at some point, that pool exactly creates a disconnection. And this is just feel into it, really, it's programmed in us. We have the forces that program us to go close to one another. But when we go to some level of this closeness, the same patterns say no. And then it's create like conflict that help us to go further. And then again, we feel this pull and we go really closer, and then again, we go further. That's not even personal. That's not like you and your partner or something. That's programmed deep in our DNA. So basically, the only way to overcome it and stop the conflict is, in a way, to transmute your human nature. I'm not saying that you need to stop to be human, but in a way, to transmute, to go beyond the gender, to transmute that. This doesn't mean that you will stop having any relationships or like sexual connections at all, but who knows? We don't know because we're not there yet. But I've definitely been in my life in stages where I could feel the oneness just by being present with somebody, and the field of ecstasy and orgasm when there was no absolute need to any physical like connection, because what's happening when we both can elevate our frequency and we stay rooted in our spirit, then when we go beyond this gender, this human nature, then we come into the field of oneness that it's show like we are there, we can be there with somebody or with God itself. But let's say if it's speaking about relationship, we feel in this ecstasy, this oneness, this bliss beyond physical forms, that, and it's so subtle in fact, and it's really beautiful and pure, then in this state there is no need for physical connection, that even feels that physical connection would be a just disturbance for this. Because if we look in the roots of why we need sexual connection, we need it kind of as a tool. This sexual energy is a fuel that help us to feel oneness in our bodies. But it's just like a starting point that it's not we need to rely on, because we can feel oneness beyond this. And that's where we're going as a humanity. But for this, we will need to let go our identification with the self. That's what was predicted kind of as the awakening of humanity. But again, if and how it will happen, we can zero ideas. All we can do is to do our inner work. So, and the last one, something I want to say that it requires, it's a physical transmutation. It's not something you just like imagining. No, it's physical transmutation, and you can see that before was 47 GK of transmutation. So this is divine fire that's transmuted everything in your system, and then your system is operating at an absolutely different level. And as I said, when I had this experience in my life of being into this field of oneness beyond physical form, well, literally you don't feel that there is a boundaries, because this energy, as I said, it needs to come through boundaries. When we stop, protect, and we dissolve the boundaries, and then when this one is filled, you feel the presence and the one system, the one being that is beyond the bodies. This is basically this what when we have orgasm, we a little bit going closer to feel it. But at the same time, we don't need, because orgasm, for example, physical, is just a little fraction of what we really can experience when we in the state of oneness with everything. And first of all, with God. And then, as I said, first we create the connection with the source in high dimension, and then we bring it into our body, and then it goes in a horizontal level and changes everything around us. You want to add something or say something?
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, for me, the diplomacy is maybe like quite people talk about it all the time nowadays.
You want to come over?
That's okay. Because in a way, I think like Richard said, the mutations already kind of started, and we've began you know, finding like more resolve than before. I mean, okay, maybe that's not totally accurate, but I mean, throughout history, there's always been diplomacy in like civilized, more mature communities. But I think nowadays there's a lot more diplomacy. For example, like United Nations and these kind of organizations, they are in a way trying to achieve diplomacy by not reacting to someone else's emotions or not becoming intensely emotional. That's what a diplomat's job is, literally, but to represent a nation, which is a huge responsibility because it's a huge gene pool. So, yeah, of course, like the actual gift diplomacy is more about what's happening on the energetic level. But I'd like to think that there are some political leaders that do embody diplomacy and ultimately peace. I mean, one of the famous ones is Gandhi. Of course, Gandhi was killed, and it's a bit of cliche, but in a way, he is really a diplomat, you know? There's these people who they're in a country which is completely divided by race or creed, religion, and can even himself being like of a certain religious group and identity, he still find peace through oppression. So it's possible. I would say it's probably one of the hardest to obtain true sense of peace is like one of the hardest things. It's why most, I think, monks and spiritual people try and escape. They leave society because it's much easier just to control your emotions than it is to control a collective emotional field. But you still have your own to deal with. You still have to transcend that. And there's always going to be that collective field on the earth. Especially nowadays, everyone is super emotional, of course, because there's a lot of transmutation happening. So I think a lot of things are coming up nowadays that were like suppressed. So like it's more, say people are more aggressive nowadays emotionally than they are repressive, but there's still a lot of repression as well. And this is battle, and then there's also the genetic battle that going on all the time. Yeah.
You can turn it off. Okay, so something else I would say about peace before we go to meditation, that in a peace frequency, you just kind of remain in this state of peace and freedom where you're untouched. Like no matter what's happening, it can't touch the core of you. The same like as there is a depth of the ocean, and no matter if it's like a storm, but it's on the surface, but it can't touch the depths of the ocean. It always stays still. So this is something that I would say is here in the core of the piece. It's transmutation of your energy field, and this is the key of alchemy. So this gene key connects with 3 other keys, so it's 4 keys in general. It's 6, 47, 40, and 64. So it's peace, it's transmutation, transfiguration, it's divine will, and illumination. It's basically enlightenment. So you can see how these things come together. We need to surrender to divine will, to bring it into our body. That's transmutes the fear, the first seal, in fact, of oppression, suppression. That's Archangel Michael, that heals this first seal, first core wound. Then, through divine will, it helps us to transmute and transfigurate all the darkness and karma. Then we feel in this alchemy of peace happening within us, that also bringing us their illumination. So basically, it's showing us our true enlightened nature. So if we pray for peace, it's not only we pray that peace will be in the world, but first of all, we try to stabilize ourselves in peace in this very high frequency, spread it from the heart. And when your system is really kind of transfigurated, you're not anymore in the old patterns, you are become a peace itself. You are became untouched. You're not anymore can ever be touched by any emotions. That at some point your system can fully be transmuted. That's it can stop create a biochemical response of emotions within you, and you just remain in the love, peace, and this kind of transfiguration and transparency where you feel everything as well. Your aura is then spread in this frequency, and that helps because it doesn't know any borders anymore. Then it goes beyond and it harmonizes the collective field where the peace just spreads itself, and it's kind of melody frequency. Okay, so let's go on meditation. Okay. So we can close our eyes. Feel the heart, feel the heartbeat. Feel the breath, feel how breath is moving through your body. Feel your root system, how it's going deep into the Mother Earth. You can let go everything what you don't need. Breathe out all the tension, emotions, and discomfort from your being. When you breathe in, you bring the energy of Mother Earth into your system. Now it gives you groundness, relaxation, safety. Feel how Mother Earth supports you helps you. Bring it to your belly, to your throat, to your head. And from there, your head, the energy from your crown goes up to the center of the source, the source. And then when you breathe in, the energy of Father Sky, the soul into your system through the crown, goes down. And goes deep into the earth, creates your vertical, the spine, masculine energy. Feel your heart, the beating in your heart, the light in your heart and rainbow sphere around you. Reconnect with enlightened masters, beings, angels, archangels, and our soul. And the Jinki with the Jinkies system and with the all Jinkies in our body, in our DNA, and with the 6 Jinki itself. Mhm. Feel the shadow of conflict. Where is it in your body? What are the contracts and beliefs you have in here? have any contracts and beliefs you see and you feel that you need to let go right now, you can imagine them, see them as their contracts written on like a paper document, and on the right corner you write down, right bottom corner you write down cancelled, cancelled, cancelled 3 times. And then you let it burn when you first tear apart in small pieces and give to purple violet flame. Contracts with all the belief and contracts you do the same. For example, there is a belief that I can't trust men or I can't trust women or I need to defend myself. Then you seeing this belief and you write down in right bottom corner, I cancel, and you saying what I'm canceling 3 times and then tearing it in small pieces and then giving it to purple violet flame. Hmm. And if you have other contracts, also invite them to remove and release. Give to purple violet flame, and all energy that was released, it's going back to source, up to source, from all the beliefs and contracts. And then purified, pure energy goes back into your system, restructuring and reforming it, reorganizing to create a new harmony and new balance. Then you can feel in your sexual center this desire, this sexual energy, this desire to connect with another gender. Or like just this fuel of your sexual energy. And then how this same energy then creates kind of war and conflict and separation. And just observe it, just feel it, and bring it higher, bring it up. And see what's happening when you bring this energy higher up. like a spiral that's created within you and bringing energy to your heart first. That's elevating your frequency and creating the gift of diplomacy. And you can feel this diplomacy. And how it's opening your heart, expanding you and shifting, just changing your aura, your energy field, and you just remain in your heart. And the more you stay here, the more this energy field expands. And if any turbulence is trying to come and touch you from outside, you just can't get in because your presence is stronger. This is the real diplomacy. Then you know what to say, how to say, when to say. And the energy goes even higher through your throat, purifying your throat to your third eye, crown chakra, and activating the frequency of peace. You can see how there is a higher frequency that's downloading into your system through the crown chakra, the high elevated vibrations and codes of peace. To that amount that you are ready to receive right now, not more than that. And just breathe deeper, breathe in your belly, breathe through all your body, also breathe through your feet. Feel yourself. Feel how the peace brings stillness in your mind, clarity, happiness in your heart, groundness in your body, stability. How your system spreads this high elevated frequency that's transmuting the environment around you. Breathe deeper, let yourself receive it. Let it go deep into your heart and also through your solar plexus to change the way of how your emotion works and you're responding to them. See and feel how these frequencies transmuting your sexual energy and going down, also through your legs into the core of the earth. And just stay for 1 minute in the stillness and silence of this energy. Breathing and feeling. And when you're ready, you can bring your palms to your heart center. Grab your palms. Go to your face. To other parts of your body if needed. And open your eyes. Again, if you watch recording, please share your feedbacks, comments. If something was triggering or you maybe didn't fully understand or agree, welcome to for your sharings, your questions, your feedbacks, your stories, your contemplations. Thank you.